chicken here. It is ready. I'm gonna start out with some Frank's RedHot. You just throw that on. Again, if you've seen my other videos, I don't do exact measurements because there's a certain look that I'm going for. So we've got the Frank's just kind of doused over top of it. I'm gonna take some Lawry's seasoning salt, sprinkle that on it. Also got some garlic powder, parsley, stop, Jon-Aaron. Jon-Aaron is messing with the controls that have our black-eyed peas going because he's figured out how to move them. Father life. We're gonna sprinkle some poultry seasoning, Italian seasoning, and paprika. I'm also going to do just a smidge of kosher salt. And then we are going to pour buttermilk over this. I'm going to say that's about 2 cups of buttermilk. I'm going to toss my chicken into this mixture. And so I seasoned it pretty heavily, but that's because I knew I was pouring buttermilk over top of it. I just want to make sure all of that gets coated. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna do another pass through of seasoning and add just a little bit more buttermilk just to make sure that it is completely covered. All right, I'm back from washing my hands. We're gonna do a little bit of kosher salt, a little bit of parsley. I'm not gonna season as heavily this time because we have a good base already going. Paprika, garlic powder, seasoning salt, Italian seasoning, and poultry seasoning. Only thing I'm not going to do another pass through is the Frank's RedHot because again we don't like things super spicy in our house. And I just went ahead and used that full quart because I wanted to make sure that I got all of that buttery goodness to cover my chicken. I'm going to take a spoon and just do a quick stir with this. If you're not afraid to get your hands in this, by all means, go for it. And just remember, this is raw meat, so if it does fall off the sides, you want to make sure that you do clean that up with some bleach to make sure you're not spreading any sort of salmonella on your cabinets, surfaces, all of that. And typically when you do clean up after using chicken, it's best to use a paper towel, something that I throw away, because those germs will set into your towel. So I've got my chicken coated. I'm gonna get some plastic wrap and we're gonna get this set up to go in the fridge so it can marinate for a few hours. All right. So my bowl is a little bit small, so I did drain out a little bit of the buttermilk because I didn't want it to spill over. I'm just taking some plastic wrap and putting it over the chicken. I'm just getting it really tight. Nothing seeps out. You may hear a cranky toddler in the background. He did not agree to be a sous chef today, so he is not particularly happy about me making this video right now. All right, so this is gonna go in the fridge. I'm gonna put this in the fridge for about 3 hours for it to marinate before we fry it. If you are not doing the pan fry method, you can skip the next part because I'm gonna get the cornstarch ready, which is what we're going to batter our chicken in to do the pan fry. If you are going to just put this in the air fryer, you do not need to bread it. You just wanna spray your air fryer with cooking spray, and you're gonna cook, excuse me, sir. You're gonna cook it at 375 for 23 minutes. You're gonna flip it in the air fryer, and then you're going to drop it down to 365 and cook it for another 10 minutes. But just like when we did our turkey, you do want to always temp your white meat to make sure that it's done. This should temp at 165 for it to be completely done and not harm the ones that are eating it. So again, if you're not going to fry this with me and you're gonna throw this in the air fryer, you're gonna do 20, Jon-Aaron, we have guests. Do you wanna say hi? Come on. Okay. All right, let's say hi. See, we're talking to people. Okay, so if you're going to air fry, you're gonna do 23 minutes at 375 and then 10 minutes at 365. Again, temp it, make sure that it does temp at 165 before you serve it if you were doing that in the air fryer. So I'm going to put this in the fridge and then we will be back to fry it. Again, we are doing the black eyed peas and collard greens. So if you want to pause this and go back to that video to see how we finish those, you can, or you can just go ahead and finish your chicken because your collard greens and your black eyed peas are gonna take some time to cook. Thank you for watching and we will be back. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is get our breading ready. So I'm going to use cornstarch. I like this better than flour just because it doesn't overbread the chicken. So I'm gonna put all of this out. I'm just gonna do the whole thing of cornstarch. This is Argo 16 ounce. You can probably do about half of this, but I just wanted to make sure I had enough for all of the chicken pieces that I have. And then you're just gonna want to season this. I've taken it down. All right, and we're gonna season it with the same thing we season our chicken with. You're gonna do some parsley, garlic powder, paprika, and seasoning salt. I'm gonna skip the Italian seasoning and the poultry seasoning for the breading. Just don't do it. And then I'm gonna do about a palmful of kosher salt. And then I'm just gonna shake that around. If you don't season your breading mixture, it's not gonna have any flavor. So you wanna make sure that you season it. And again, I'm just moving that around, and I do have 2 plastic bags. Some people prefer paper bags. I just like plastic bags. That's just how I was taught to do it, and that's how I've always done it. It's less messy for me. And then I'm gonna do another pass through of seasoning. So I'm gonna do some kosher salt, some paprika, seasoning salt, and parsley. And let's not forget our garlic powder. right, so my breading is seasoned. You see that there. And when my chicken is done marinating, all I'm gonna do is throw the pieces in this bag, shake it up, and then it's gonna be ready to go in the oil. So we are back. The chicken has been marinating for several hours, about 3 hours in the fridge. I don't know what happened with my sound again. We've had some technical difficulties with this recording of the New Year's tradition, so I appreciate you bearing with me and continuing to watch the video. I've got a vegetable oil. It's about 48 ounces. I use just about all of it. I've got a 9-inch skillet. It's about 3 inches deep as well. Again, I didn't use the whole thing of oil. I just put enough in there. You can see in the pan where the line is to get the oil hot. I want that oil to get to about 350 degrees before I start frying my chicken. But right now we can go ahead and move to battering the chicken while that oil is heating. So my chicken has been marinating. You can see that it's completely coated in seasonings and the buttermilk. I am making sure that it is completely drenched before I throw it into my breading. You can see me whipping it and moving it into the buttermilk. I will give it a shake, and then I'm just gonna put it in the breading that I have prepared. I'm gonna do that with each piece. As you can see, I only have dark meat pieces. We are a dark meat preference household. You can use whatever chicken pieces that you like. If you like breast and wings, feel free to do the same thing as far as the seasoning and profile for this fried chicken recipe. But again, I've got about 8 pieces of chicken here. I've got 3 thighs and 5 legs. That's just how it was packaged at this time. But like I said, you can do whatever pieces you want. This recipe will fulfill 8 pieces of chicken. All right, so I have washed my hands. I'm going to tie off the bag, and we're just gonna begin to shake it. I always press the air out before I start shaking the bag. You can see that I'm doing that there, and make sure the bag is tied pretty tight. And then I'm just gonna give it a shake to make sure that it gets completely covered in the breading mixture that I've made with the cornstarch and seasonings. So I've opened up the bag. I'm just checking each piece to make sure that it is completely coated in the breading. I'm moving it around some just to make sure that there are no wet pieces. If you feel any wetness, that means that it's not coated. So as you can see, I've tossed it around just to make sure that everything is completely breaded. Okay, so I've got my oil heated. We're gonna check the oil just to make sure that it is hot and ready to go. I have a thermometer that can temp it. Again, I wanted it to be about 350 degrees. Another way that you can check it if you don't have a thermometer is to throw a little bit of the cornstarch mixture into the oil. And once it starts to sizzle, that should mean that the oil is hot enough for you to go ahead and place your chicken in. I'm gonna do that a few times. You're gonna see that in the video just to make sure that my chicken's ready to go in. You don't want your oil too hot, because the last thing you want is for your oil to be way too hot and burn your chicken on the outside but not cook it on the inside. So it is very important to get your oil to the right temperature before you place your chicken in.
By doing that, I put my heat pretty much on medium high, and that will make sure that it gets the oil hot enough. And then once I get the chicken in, I typically drop it down to about medium to again make sure that it doesn't brown too quickly on the outside before cooking well enough on the inside. When you temp your chicken, you want your chicken to be at 165 degrees or higher to make sure that it is completely done. The last thing you want is somebody biting into the chicken and there being blood. That will turn off everyone and no one will want to eat your food. So my oil is hot enough and my chicken is ready to go in. So I am making sure that thigh is coated. I've got the skin wrapped around. You want to make sure the skin is side down so that way it doesn't cook weird and the skin comes off of the chicken if you did have some of that skin that got loose on your chicken pieces. For this first batch, and I am going to have to do it in 2 batches because of the size of my pan. You can also use a larger pan if you do have one, but I'm going to do 4 pieces at a time for this specific recipe because again, I don't want my chicken to not have enough room to be able to turn and move. For this one, you are going to start it out by cooking in 10-minute increments. So after I get the chicken in, I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes and then come back and check it to flip it. So while my chicken is cooking, I cleaned up some of the mess that I've made. I'm getting my tongs ready. I'm also going to grab a plate and line it with a paper towel, just so the chicken has somewhere to drain some of that grease off. That's very important when you are frying chicken. You want your chicken to have somewhere to drain off the excess grease because we do love our good fried chicken, but we don't want it too greasy. So it does need a paper towel lined plate to get that grease to drain once you're ready to pull it. So I am checking the chicken. It is time to get ready to flip it. I like to use my thermometer to poke a hole in each piece so that way when I flip it, that oil gets in and it allows the chicken to cook faster. That's why I don't have those blood blisters in my chicken. When you do create those blood blisters, it can make your chicken a little bit darker where the blood has time to cook. So we are going to actually get ready to go ahead and flip our chicken. And I have the oil low enough where it's not snapping and crackling and popping onto my skin. That is why I keep it at a medium heat. You don't want your oil going crazy while you are frying your chicken. So now my chicken has been flipped. I'm gonna set a timer again for another 10 minutes. Come back and check it and it should be done. Again, we're going to temp it just to make sure. Again, that temperature should read over 165 to make sure that your chicken is completely done. So I'm gonna set that timer and walk away. So it's been 10 minutes. I'm coming to check all of my pieces. I want to make sure again that it's temping at 165. It is not quite done, so I'm going to set another timer for another 3 minutes just to make sure that my chicken does hit that 165-degree mark, to make sure that I'm serving chicken that is completely done and safe for my guests to eat. So it has been 3 minutes. My chicken should be ready. I have tempted. It looks like the legs are completely done. So you can see I'm draining off some of that grease before I put it onto my paper towel lined plate. And it is that pretty golden brown color that we want. So again, I'm gonna check it now that I've pulled it from the oil, just to make sure it's not the oil that was affecting the temperature, and that is going to temp at 165, and we're gonna be ready to go ahead and pull those legs out. With the thigh being a little bit larger than those leg pieces, I did want to go ahead and temp that one separately. It does need a little bit more time, so I am going to flip it over to the other side, make sure that it doesn't get too brown, and let it cook for another 2 to 3 minutes, just to make sure that we are getting that temperature to 165 or higher to serve it, so it is safe to eat as well as delicious. So it's been 3 minutes. I'm back to check on this thigh. It is ready. It is temping over 165, so we can go ahead and pull it from the grease and add it to our plate. I'm going to get ready to prepare the next batch of chicken. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit, because once you have cooked in the oil, it does make it a little bit darker, and that will make your chicken darker. So I'm going to turn down the heat between medium, low before I put the next batch in. I'm also moving some of the extra breading that fell off into the oil, just to make sure again that I'm getting that oil as clean as possible for the next batch of chicken, so it does not brown too quickly. So we're going to repeat the same steps that we did before, and we will be back to temp the next batch of chicken and do a taste test. While the chicken is finishing cooking, I'm going to clean my surfaces with some Clorox bleach. I'm also going to put my cooked chicken in the microwave so it can keep that heat while the other batch is cooking. Once it has been the full 20 minutes, I'll be able to pull the second batch and we can get ready for our taste test. Second batch of chicken, I did go ahead and get another plate and another paper towel to line to let the grease off of those pieces as well. I didn't want to put excess grease on top of my chicken that was already cooked, so I did get another plate to go ahead and remove the chicken for the second batch. I did have an extra large leg in there that did need some more time to cook, so I'm gonna let that ride a little bit, but we are gonna go ahead and do our taste test to make sure our chicken is as delicious as promised. So there you have it, perfectly fried golden brown chicken. It is flavorful. It is ready to eat. You may want to let a piece cool down. I'm going to pull one of the pieces that I cooked on the first batch. As you can see, it is completely cooked on the inside. It is juicy. It is delicious. It is got that perfect crunch. It's not overly breaded because we did use that cornstarch, and it's going to go perfectly with your black-eyed peas and collard greens. So I hope you enjoy this New Year's tradition meal. I appreciate you watching the video, and Happy New Year to you. I wish you all of the abundance in the coming year. I hope you have lots of luck and money and good eats. Keep watching and subscribe to my channel for more content, and I promise to share more recipes. Thanks for watching, and this again is a presentation from The Intimate Cook.